Welcome to Co-op Mode, round 114. This is the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra from beautiful Savage, Minnesota, the wilds, the breath of the wilds of Savage, maybe, as you'd say. Joined by Mark, the Canadian Carabin from the Canadian Breath of the Wild. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm pretty good. Hopefully there'll be no tears in our kingdom tonight, and we'll have a great show. But I'm good. I have not stopped all day, so it's nice to just like finally kind of sit down and think about video games for a little bit. So this is nice. How are you?
Yes. Oh, doing well. I am a man torn between games right now, and a man that will not be forced to buy a Switch just so his son and I can share it. So I'm putting it down. Unless he wants to buy one, that's fine. But with that, we are joined by a returning Co-op Mode member, and that is Mr. Josiah, a.k.a. Mostly Martinez, a.k.a. the really important part, Hezekiah's father. Welcome back.
Hello there. Yeah, it's amazing to be back. I was super excited when I got your guys' message. I love spending time with everybody across the Secret Friends Unite podcast. So yeah, thank you so much for the invite. I'm happy to be here. I told you guys a little earlier, today's my 13th wedding anniversary. So today is just all around fantastic. A beautiful day with the family and a beautiful day with a couple of my favorite content creators.
You know what? I don't blame you. It's the perfect place. It's the perfect way to spend your wedding anniversary with us.
It is. I can't think of anything better.
I love it. Yeah, my son and my wife are at Taekwondo right now, so they're doing their thing. So I'm kind of playing hooky. And Mark, you're just trying to catch your breath.
Yeah, basically, yeah. That's it.
Well, this is going to be a lot of fun because I thought about this. Your first were on Halcron Chronicles with Mark, and then I had you on SFU when Charlie wasn't there. So this is the first time we're talking about video games together. So very, very much fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get into the mix of everything, we want to thank our Patreons, our best bud, Jamie Prinky, our BFFs, Sean, Stella, Henry Nias. Guys, how you doing? Sean is another father who never gets to play his video games because his children steal them. Missy Merchant and Andy Milliken. Missy, thank you for all your support being on those knuckleheads on Code 47, who just celebrated 100 episodes.
Yeah.
So they had a good time. They did the top 47 episodes of Star Trek, I think, and they battled it out in a bracket fashion to come up with the number one Star Trek episode.
Nice. I need to go check that out. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's only like 3 hours long, so don't worry.
Okay. Yeah. I figure top 47. Yeah. I'm like, buckle up, get ready.
Exactly. And Charlie always makes fun of us for going really long. So now he can't say he's never done it. So
yeah.
Well, very good.
I almost snuck on one of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Somebody backed out and he messaged me and said, "Hey, there might be a chance that we could get you in." And I was like, "All right, let's go." And he's like, "Never mind."
Oh my goodness.
I almost made it on.
Charlie's got to fix that problem.
Yes, he does. It's always interesting to know who like enjoys both Star Wars and Star Trek. It doesn't always get that overlap, so it's very cool. Sure. Mark is one of those people where it does not overlap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, very cool. Yeah, we'll put a good word for you and get on that show because, you ended up giving Charlie a code to a certain video game that he has not talked about yet. And I want to hear what he thought about the game because I'm really curious about the Star Trek game that came out. So it's more kid focused. So Prodigy is the game. So I would love to hear his thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we get into really the meat of the show. This is the one that really separates the man from the machines and the beasts. It is Buy Rent Return. This episode or the segment is Scary Zelda Enemies. So Mark picked this one. So folks, it's all on Mark for how well this goes.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to pick something Zelda themed, but I was trying to pick of like, for some reason, creepy stuff in Zelda popped in my head for this one. but I narrowed it down like Todd said to enemies because there's some creepy stuff in Zelda that's not enemies or like not necessarily an enemy you can fight. So like
Right.
there's Tingle, the moon in Majora's Mask. There's the toilet ghost, stuff like that, like blood moons. Like there's creepy stuff.
Yeah.
But then there's also this like enemies that are gonna mess you up. And what ones do you not want to face? So so here we go. We've got a Cucko army. Is anyone who has slashed a chicken in Zelda too many times with a sword knows the unrelenting horror that is rained upon you by those chicken army fiends. We've also got the Re-Dead, aka Zelda zombies, and one of the creepiest ones that like the jump scare kind of creep is the Wallmaster hand. So that's you just see the shadow above you, and then there's just a thing on crack that just comes down and gets you. So so they're the three options. What one scares you the most?
Oh man. Yeah, when I saw this segment, I was thinking about that too, because it's really interesting when you think about Zelda. There's a lot of like beauty in it. You know, there's a lot of like magic and kind of like happy mystical side, but then there's a lot of dark there. And so like you're saying, even if they're not enemy, there's a lot of dark in the game. Even if you think of like things like the pose too, you know, like they come out at night. And so I would like kind of those three though. I think personally like the Re-Dead, because it kind of is like a jump scare too in a way, because you know it'll get you. And then I'm trying to remember, it was like what'd you have to do, like AB or something to like get it off of you, or like knock it off you. And it really reminds me of did you guys ever play Resistance, the Resistance series? So you know, like then like the Chimera would jump on you, and it was the same thing. Like it's like dark, and you know, like you'll come out of nowhere, or like sometimes you'll hear it, and it's the same with the Re-Dead. You could hear them, and so you're like, oh shoot, and then if they grab you, you're just like you know, like get off me. So like I think out of these three, I know, yeah, it's like like the sound is like, it's, you know, the sound when you hear the sound of them. But yeah, I mean, you can't mess with the cuckoos, but I mean, for me, it's got to be the Re-Dead, because I mean, just you know, it's at, you know, it's darker, it's at night, you know, you got to get it off you, and
So that's your buy.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So is the approach like, is your buy like the one that's the scariest? Is that how you're going, or it's like, because there is like a method of madness in the game where you could take it differently, and I usually do that because it drives Mark nuts. So if you're going the scariest to then least scariest, so you're saying Re-Dead, okay, for your buy, okay. So what would you rent? Kind of like, what's the semi evil or semi scary?
That's got to be Wallmaster. And I think those are close, because like you said, you know, you got that shadow going on, and then across the different Zelda games, it's a little different. But yeah, like I think that is definitely, when you think of a hand, which we'll talk about a hand, well, maybe an arm later, but I think, you know, just a hand all by itself, it kind of gives you like the Super Smash Brothers final boss vibes even, you know? And, you know, some of the Mario games also have either a hand or a fist as a boss. So like, like that's kind of, it definitely is a thing. And then, I gotta go, like cuckoos, they're scary. You can't mess with them, but they're also cute. And you can hold them, you can jump off things and fly. Yeah, so.
And can be avoided. Just don't be an ass. Just don't hit the birds, and you're fine.
I mean, if you help them, you're fine. You go, they get lost, you grab them, you take them back to their pen. They like you.
Yeah, just don't.
It's the jerk tax.
Canceled by PETA, and you're fine. Todd, how you feeling about this one?
It's weird. I have different thoughts because I'm like, well, yeah, Byron Return, do I want a really scary enemy? Maybe I don't. I'm going to buy the least scary.
The least scary.
I'm like, why would I want more of these things? I'm not investing in my terrors. Come on.
Yeah.
What economy is this? I'm not building a haunted house. I'm like, come on. I'm going to put them I want to put these guys out of work. I do not want them to have a place. I want them to go to like homeless shelters or something like that. Put them out of work. So, I think when buying for like effective fears, things like that, I'm going to go with the Wallmaster hands because this reminds me of, I think it was Elden Ring. There was a hand, like a hand monster that looks like a spider. And that's what reminds me. It's like coming down. It looks like a spider. And those things come out of the nowhere. So it's like you can't even like dance around it or escape. It's just like, it's almost like what is it, Mr. X in Resident Evil 2, where he just comes up and like it's like the Kool-Aid Man. It's like so very effective. I'm buying him. I'm buying what he's selling in regards to the hand being scary as hell. So that's my buy. Rent. I think I would rent the Cuckoo Army because I think, if I remember this correctly, they can create chaos that doesn't always impact you too, right? They can be chaotic in general. So they could be semi-useful. You could like save them for something where you could create chaos or just avoid them. Like you don't have to, like to your point, it's a jerk tax. If you want to be a jerk, that's your tax, you're paying it. But it could be useful too from a chaos. It's like when you're like in Far Cry and you release a wolf from like a pen and it just goes nuts and drives it random. So we'll see how that goes. And then Red Dead, I don't know. I think zombies are kind of done. So I think it's like, I think they're kind of over and done. Yeah. So it's a return. Mark.
Crazy enough, I'm picking the exact same as Todd, which I don't think has happened in the history of this game. This is unprecedented. So,
did we just become best friends?
I think so. Let's put our benefits together. We have so much room for activities and flips. I'm gonna pick the Wallmaster hand because it's terrifying when it's just like the shadow, especially if you don't recognize there's a shadow coming and you don't get time to roll away or like you're looking away for 2 seconds and then you're done.
You always remember your first Wallmaster hand, right, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. The Cuckoo Army, like you said, kind of as long as you don't do anything. If you're nice to them, they'll be nice to you. However, once you do that, because you're gonna because we're all twisted and broken, and we're gonna hit the chickens once in our life and find out what happens. And they are like the definition of F around and find out. And oh boy, do you find out quick. And it's just that like panic of like, how do I escape from 3,000 chickens coming at me? And the Red Dead, like you said, like zombies, they are creepy. I will 100% agree with the sound and just the creepy factor, but they can kind of be avoided for the most part. When they get you, it is terrifying though. Like that is a close call of like, should I switch those? But yeah, there's just something about a chicken army that's just has stuck with me through all these years. So I'll pick that one.
What's the say? Would you rather battle one giant like chicken or 100 chickens, 100 little
regular sized chickens?
Well, you never know.
Or could it be like a giant chicken or a Wallmaster the size of a chicken?
Oh yeah, or like a lot of those little Wallmaster hands.
I just thought about it in my head. Yeah, no way.
Spiders are scary whether they're the size of like your pinky or the size of a tarantula.
Yeah, do not want.
I would just want to bring up one funny thing.
Like look up in the corner of your room or something like that, and you're just like, oh look, there's a spider up there. Oh no, never mind, it's a disembodied hand. Shit. Yeah. Like, no.
Let's just be honest. If you're sleeping at night, if you look up and there's a spider, even the smallest one, about right, you're dropping your mouth. You're freaking out and get out of bed, aren't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Imagine that's a hand.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't. Don't give me nightmares, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. This reminded me because in The Witcher 3, if you killed enough cows, you summoned like the cow demon god, and he would come in. So it's almost similar to that, but it was so weird to have like a demon cow that you could not escape. It would like go after you. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Amazing.
Do you want to take Brendan's response, Mark?
We had a response from Brendan Myers, the Winter Gamer. He went the way I almost went was buy the Cocoa Chicken Army. You straight up don't mess around with that. And he said the same thing. I didn't even read this.
Yes, he did. You said I was going to say, you guys are like on the same page.
The more you F around, you find that's amazing.
Like that calculation, the more you find out. The graph.
Brennan, I see you right now. Rent the Wallmaster hand because it's really useful. But I also want to deal with finding where it is. Yeah, because that's you just don't. Yep, definitely not. And return Redead because they are least useful in combat or anything else. So yeah, they're kind of like they're stationary zombies for the most part. Like it's kind of like, all right, cool. You're stuck to one spot for the most. It can kind of.
Do you even get anything from them? Like a rupee, maybe?
I think, nothing important. I feel like, it's always like rupees. Maybe they drop a unique thing. I can't remember what it is, though. But yeah, nothing fancy, for sure.
Unimportant, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Excellent.
Well, that was a lot of fun. So thank you, Mark, for picking that one. Let's see what we get next week when we might disappoint the audience even further than I normally do. We'll see how that goes. So now we get to the part where we actually talk about what we've been playing. So, you know what? No big games came out. So we're probably going to just talk about our backlog, what we've been playing. What was big 3 years ago? Let's talk about that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's who's been playing Angry Birds?
Yeah, exactly. I heard they got a new free-to-play game because they brought back the old one, right? Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, Sega bought. Didn't Sega buy Rovio?
Yeah. Or they're
we could talk about that. Let's just talk about that.
Yeah, that's it. That's nothing else important happening.
Yeah, Sonic Ball. It's like Sonic Pinball, or Sonic Angry Bird. He turned into a slingshot. Perfect. Just kidding, folks. Just kidding. We're gonna get into the big game, but before then, Josiah, is there any other games that you've been playing, or anything you're excited about in the world of games?
Yeah, so I think we're kind of all on the same page on a couple of games. But obviously, being a big Star Wars fan, Jedi Survivor, I've been excited about that for a really long time. And sadly, I haven't got that far in the game because I tried to stream it a few times and it kept crashing. Oh. So it was crashing my stream, and it was, it threw a whole wrench into everything. And anyways, then I knew that they were going to do some patches and all that type of stuff. But I haven't got that far. I'm just running around kind of the seedy side of Coruscant. Spoiler, sorry. So I'm kind of just right at the beginning there. It feels just as amazing as before. I'm really excited to dive more into that now that it's getting a little bit more stable. I'm playing on PC, by the way, which from what I understand,
I could tell when you talked about crashes,
which is like the most, issues I've heard is from people playing on PC. So that game I've been jumping a little into. Obviously, what we're going to talk about later, Tears of the Kingdom. I've been playing that a bunch. Besides those, one of those games that continues to come out from the grave is Destiny had a new DLC recently. So I've been playing that a little bit. I almost finished the campaign of the most recent DLC, and that one's pretty brutal on Legendary. It's pretty punishing, so I actually haven't finished it based on trying a few times and being like, okay, I'm done for the night of playing that. And
what are you playing
on? For Destiny?
Yeah,
Destiny I'm playing on Xbox.
Okay, and that's crossplay though, right?
Yep. So you can pretty much play it anywhere, but I have the DLC and year pass on Xbox, so that's where I'm playing that.
Well, if you're looking for an excellent player, my son is now a Sherpa on raids. He is ridiculous. puts me to shame. I haven't even played Lightfall at all, but he is on it when he's not playing other games. He's playing Destiny too. So if you're looking for someone or vice versa, he would be an excellent player to have. I'm very proud of him because he is very collaborative and tells people exactly what they need to do. He's not a jerk. He tries to have a little bit of fun though. Like, what are you doing? Why are you over there? But he's very kind. Right. So he's the type of like Sherpa I would have wanted when I was playing Destiny a lot.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's great to find people to play with like that. I know one thing that's kind of helped veteran players like myself is they're rotating in some of the old raids. So they bring back a raid from before, and I'm like, all right, I'm in, baby. I'm back, baby. Put me in, coach.
The glass raid is always a favorite of a lot of people. Yep.
Vault of Glass, and they had King's Fall again, and So I'm jumping into that a little bit. The games I've been playing with Hezekiah. We've actually just kind of started getting back into Fall Guys. The new season came out, which is pretty cool because they added a creator mode where you can create your own tracks.
Oh, wow.
And Hezekiah loves that stuff. Like, I mean, he likes like Mario Maker 2 and like Minecraft, Ark, Survival Evolved. Like, he likes the building and crafting stuff. So he's been all over that, spending a lot of time building different circuits and stuff, which is really cool because you can't just go crazy with it. They give you a certain amount of currency for each one. And so you can only have so many pieces. So like nobody's having like this really elaborate, crazy one. Everyone has like the same amount of, materials to make something. And so, that's been pretty fun. But I think the biggest one is what we're going to be talking about, Tears of the Kingdom. I've always been a big Zelda fan. So that's probably where I'm going to be for the next year on and off playing that game. So
very cool. Well, let's do this. Let's get everything else out of the way. So Mark, where are you at in Jedi Survivor?
Yeah. I'm fairly far, I think. I haven't looked up any spoilers, so I don't know exactly like when it ends, but like I've I think progressed a fair bit in the story. I've done, a few things. I've met a few people that I from the first game that I've been kind of waiting to pop up. I've got a decent amount of the powers, all of the lightsaber stances that I think that are going to pop up. So I think I'm a decent way in, but maybe I'm just scratching the surface. I don't even I don't know. But I feel like really, really good about where I've been going with this game and how it's been going. One thing I will say, and I talked to my wife about this earlier today, is Jedi Survivor for me, and maybe I don't know if I should have saved this for later or not, but I'll do a tiny bit right now. Playing Tears of the Kingdom, at least from the get-go, feels very slow because of how good Jedi Survivor is as a sequel. Mm-hmm. Without too many, without really story spoilers or anything like that, Jedi Survivor took everything that was great about Jedi Fallen Order and made it better without taking anything away, which is so rare for a Metroidvania or any kind of
Souls-like
sequel, Souls-like, whatever. It doesn't start you from zero. If there was something you could do in Jedi Fallen Order, for the most part, you can do that here. Mm-hmm. There's no, your lightsaber got damaged, so now it's only a single blade and you have to upgrade everything else. There's no, you got bopped on the head, so you can't do force flips anymore. Or you can't do this. It's, here's what you got in the first game. That's your starting point. What's new? Mm-hmm. Whether it's an air dash or another ability that someone gives you later that is really, really cool, or new lightsaber stances, or I think everyone's kind of saying, I don't think it's a spoiler to say you get a gun in this one. So lightsaber plus gun combo, or like that kind of combat and what that changes. It's just adding things.
Mhm.
Whereas Tears of the Kingdom pretty much starts you back from zero. You have like 3 hearts and no stamina and everything else. And it just feels like I'm back here again. For real, I just kind of want to
feels like it's not backwards compatible. Like all those villains, they're not forward compatible with this game.
And especially where it feels like it's starting very close to where Breath of the Wild finished.
Mm-hmm.
So that's causing a bit of frustration. And I'm looking at Jedi Survivor and I'm like, damn, this is a perfect sequel. Like every little pain point in the first game, whether it was fast travel or, traversal or this or that, like it's just all fixed aside from crashes. But for me, it's been performing well. I've had one crash so far on the Xbox Series X, and I just rebooted. I lost maybe 2 minutes because the save point was right before it crashed. I was lucky that I hadn't gone, a good half hour, 45 minutes without hitting one of those meditation points. And the game just kind of froze. It was a quick reset the Xbox, power back in. No hiccups since. It's been, knock on wood, whatever. So I've been lucky that way. And aside from that one little hang up, it's just been everything. I finished the audiobook of the in between Jedi Survivor and
Nice.
and this one, or the Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. And that was excellent. So I am fully in Star Wars mode. I'm fully in Jedi Survivor mode. And oh man, Tears of the Kingdom, I'm excited. I'm very excited to get into it and put that 200 hours in that I did in Breath of the Wild. But man, the starting is such a slog in certain respects. In other respects, it's like, oh wow, I can do this, I can do that. And it doesn't take too long to kind of get into a groove, but you're still for real, 3 hearts? Come on, man. Just
Yep.
why?
Yeah. And I was wondering about that too, and how they were gonna do some things. So I've gotten not as far as I'm sure a lot of people haven't, but I mean it is interesting comparing the two sequels. We talked about sequels last episode, and kind of enough, not enough. And I do feel I'm reiterating where you were saying, Mark, where I feel like they didn't stumble where they could have. The story I feel is excellent, and it doesn't do those normal tropes of we're going to get the band back together and we really have negative feelings. It feels like I think it handled it very maturely, which was great. It wasn't now we're enemies or something no, it was just separate ways. And I like how they brought them back together. And Marin, I love Marin. She is the bomb. Yeah. I love her. She is amazing. I want Marin in everything. Yeah. Make her. I mean, she's amazing. I love that character.
Live action.
I like their relationship.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want all of these characters live action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great, and I think they've added some things with, and depending where you're at, you have a lot of things to keep you around in the game to do side quests. There's a character you meet that Hezekiah, you haven't gotten there yet, but I'll just say it's a very cool looking bounty hunter that I've never seen a bounty hunter like that, and that bounty hunter is cool and awesome. Kind of gives it Cad Bane vibes.
Ooh,
but
nice.
in a wheel
cooler than Cad Bane.
Well, yes, you know what I'm saying, Mark, but it's kind of like that that vibe. No, but I'm just saying in that vibe, it kind of, and it feels like it's an alien in Star Wars that feels underutilized, that type. So I'm glad they're doing it. It's very cool, and there's all these different things that you can stay in that game as long as you want. You don't have to just do the main campaign. There's other things you can do, just silly things or exciting things. I do still laugh at I got a cool another hairdo in a box. So, and I think there's better, it's not just another poncho this time, which I did not like the first game. This is kind of lame, but there's really customization that keeps you going. And I'm close to the end. I'm looking at the walkthrough and I'm where I'm at. Okay. So I'm getting close. So, but still it's challenging too. It's you cannot sleep your way through the combat the last guy beat. I had to bring it down a notch because I just felt I was doing my best, and I got to the second phase. I'm oh crap, I don't have enough to get through this. So I'm man enough to say, you know what? I gave it my college try. I'll take it down a notch. I'm not at story mode. You know, I'm a Padawan now. But then I brought it back up though, because some battles felt harder than others. But I love it. I think it's a great game, and it is a cool part. Well, that's the only good thing about my son mostly stealing the Switch for me is I can finish Jedi. I don't feel like I'm torn. I'm like, I can't play it anyway, so let's do this. Great.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't believe I chose to go back to Jedi Survivor last night. Everyone went to sleep. Finn was down. My wife was like, I'm heading up. And I had the option to do whatever I want to play or watch or do. And Tears of the Kingdom was right there. And maybe I played it a little too much on Friday, like a 13-year-old that I played till 3 a.m. and that was a choice I made in my life.
Did you take the day off?
No.
Okay.
I just we both waited and waited till Finn went to sleep, and then we sat on our separate Switches. My wife got the Tears of the Kingdom Switch, by the way. The old
I saw that. I saw that.
Fantastic.
I guess so. It was really fortunate that you didn't get the Pokemon. Not for you, Mark. But
yeah,
exactly.
She's super happy with it, and it looks so nice. So we both, as soon as Finn went down, we both just sat there and like threw something on TV, like The Office or whatever, just as background noise, and just played the hell out of it. She tapped out at like 12:30, and I stayed up till 3 a.m. playing Tears of the Kingdom. But I don't know if I kind of burnt myself out on it, but last night I was like, what do I want to play? And it was Jedi Survivor, and I was like, what the hell? There's a new Zelda game. Like, I'm going back to this. It's crazy, but I think it talks to how good Jedi Survivor is. Like, it's so good. Again, I don't want to do any story spoilers or anything, but like, Todd, if you're that far in the game, you know what I'm saying with like the mission with Marin and the flying kind of.
That's like, amazing.
That
is amazing. I love that power up. Yes,
like mind blowing. The traversal in this game is more satisfying to me than like the combat, and like for me to say something's better than lightsaber combat is something.
Yeah.
So, like, the traversal in this game is so good. There's been sequences of like, zip line, wall run, to another zip line, to a grapple, to a swing, to a wall run, to like, it's so good. It's like,
it's almost like the team that made this made a game that had awesome traversal, and they didn't get to go back to their franchise that they love.
Almost. Anyway, it is so good. Todd, you're further in. Any other extra thoughts on Jedi Survivor?
I really like. I mean, with you both are Star Wars aficionados. I have a love-dislike relationship with Star Wars, and this reminds me why I love playing Star Wars rather than reading and watching Star Wars, because I can watch Star Wars a million times, but I never feel like a Jedi. I feel like a Jedi. That's why I love Star Wars games. So I'm so glad that we're getting this game after, not sure where Star Wars was going to go from gaming. So I'm glad we got this, and I'm glad they aren't, once again, Mark, doing the Metroid. They're doing all these things to grow the franchise and grow the characters, and everything they're doing is right. And I think this is the rare sequel that feels like everything they did in the first game was all to get them to this point. And I'm just worried, how do they do a third? Because it's like, how many more stances are they going to give me? I mean, I could see where they could do some things that, like, if they added like a co-op, like, that would be amazing. So that's, I think, how you go next. It's like, what is unique and makes people play together? So playing as with another character could be awesome. So I think this game is great. And to your point, Mark, it's a shame that we have big games coming out, because even after that's Diablo, then it's, this and it's that, and it was Resident Evil. This is a year where I feel like so many games are going to get sidelined because, to the point, I'm too busy playing Zelda, that I think you're making the right decision. Finish out Jedi Survivor. You'll have many hours, and it's going to be FOMO. I'm finding these things out on Twitter of like what to do. And we'll talk about that a little bit, all the craziness of the hijinks around this game. But yeah. I think this game is definitely should not be overlooked. PC, I'm hoping it gets the care and love in the port, so that plays better. But the console version's been great. And I love the PS5 DualSense. Integration is excellent. The sounds in the speaker on the controller are always awesome. It lights up. I love the lighting up of the color on the DualSense. Yeah,
Does
I'm
it
just
match
waiting
a
for
lightsaber?
Xbox.
How's it?
It uses it depending on what's going on. Like if you're taking shots, it'll change color. It's just cool. I just wish Xbox did the same thing. I think they need to get some immersion, and so I hope that's coming where the Xbox gets as well, because that's my main reason to play on PlayStation third-party games, because of what the DualSense brings to the table, because it's awesome. But
and that's a great shout. I will say, I was like, I wasn't hesitant, but I didn't find like a crazy need to get the PlayStation 5. That's why I never bought one. But then we won one, and now I have one, and it is absolutely fantastic. Like, just playing on it feels so good. It, like, immediately, as soon as I put my hands on the controller, it like zoomed me back to when I took home the PlayStation 3 that very first night. And yeah, I was playing, like, I had Resistance, and like I was just like, I love gaming. I'm in love with gaming. And that's how I felt with the PlayStation 5. We didn't even have any games for it yet. We started playing like it's like, what's it called? Like
the Astro game?
Astro Playground or something like that. And
amazing.
I was like, it's an amazing game. It's like, why don't people talk about it? It's like a 3D platformer that looks amazing, feels amazing. It works amazing with the controller. And it basically puts all of these cool little features that only PlayStation has with their controller, and it puts it on a pedestal. And you can do all these things in that beautiful looking 3D platformer. And I was like, wow, like, why did I not buy this day one? And yeah, so yeah, I totally see what you're saying. And yeah, especially when I was getting those crashes, I was like, I really want to just buy it on PlayStation, because I'm like, I don't even know if I can wait like a week, 2 weeks, a month, however long until they get it right on PC.
Rough.
But yeah, now Tears of the Kingdom's out. So luckily it's kind of, it's helped me to wait and be patient a little bit with that one. But yeah.
Yeah, I've just got Cult of the Lamb waiting for me after this game. So, because I know Logan will be playing it most of the time, which is fine. He's deserved it. He's had a great year at school. So,
Nice.
And So, Mark, I think you're making the right decision. Depending where you're at, I don't know how much further you're behind me, but you're probably close. Probably another couple hours.
Slight story spoilers. So just if you want to,
do you want to earmuff yourself, Josiah?
It's not even. I'm going to do it as vague as possible, and I'm just going to say that Marin has rejoined my team, and she's back on the Mantis. That's where I am.
You've got. You've got.
I think
probably
I've got a bit to go.
You probably have 2 more main chapters.
Okay, all right.
I'm on chapter 5, so
okay.
You're probably on chapter 4, so not too far.
Good enough.
But it's well worth it. Yeah. And depending on how much you go whole hog and do side quests and things like that.
I've been doing a little bit of both. If I see something shiny in the distance, I'm kind of like, ooh, look at that. Let's see if I can get up there yet. And but I knew there was some abilities that I didn't have that I knew would be useful.
Yeah.
And so I've been kind of waiting and holding back that like urge to be like, ooh, shiny thing, and just kind of like golden pathing the story as much as I can. So little mix of like, I can get that, or yeah, you know what? Like, but I have been like, if I'm in an area, I'm thoroughly exploring that area to make sure I get all the chests.
Yeah.
But if there's something that I'm like, I'm going to wait. If that's, a little bit in the distance or it looks a little tough, I'm like, I'm going to level up my skills first. So, yeah.
Very cool.
I think a good balance.
In 2 weeks, we'll see where Mark is at, if he stuck with his plan or he devolved from it. See,
and that's the other thing is I have the options of these 2 new games, but if you saw my Instagram yesterday, I think it was I'm back on the Ambernick, and I was playing Zelda on that, because I was like, hey, let's stop playing Zelda and let's play Zelda. So I was going Link to the Past.
Nice.
And why? Because it's awesome. And this little handheld's just easy to carry around and do stuff. And I can take it if Finn's dragging me off somewhere and wants me to watch him play Hot Wheels, but not play Hot Wheels, because why would I, want to interact that way? 3-year-olds are fun. They're great. But yeah, so I've been in a Zelda mood, whether it's the Ambernick or that. But man, Jedi Survivor's taking me away as much as it can.
Well, we're blessed because it's a great time to be a gamer. This year is going to be one of the best years in gaming. It's amazing. We don't even know what's coming out past Pikmin 4. So that's how crazy it is. But I did want to touch on one game before we get into Tears of the Kingdom, full on go crazy. And that's a game called Ravenlok. This just dropped on Game Pass, PC or Xbox, however you subscribe. You can also buy it. And this is by a developer that a game I really, really enjoyed on Game Pass as well. It's called Echo Generation, where they did like that clunky big pixels. It was a throwback game. It was turn-based RPGs. It was clever. It was funny. And I just really loved how they embraced it. It was a Western studio. So you don't often get Western turn-based studios using really unique art styles. So I really enjoyed it. I did get stuck like I do in most turn-based RPGs where I'm like, I'm not able to power up enough. But I loved what they did. So I was really excited about this new game from Coco Cucumber is the name of the developer. And this is their next big game. It's on Game Pass. And Ravenlok is a more traditional Zelda-like is the best way to put it. Action RPG. And there's not really big RPG elements, but the art style once again is stunning. It's unique. And it feels like a, Alice in Wonderland type of game, but your heroine, she has raven locks, so like hair. So I like how they did raven locks. And she gets sucked into an alternate world like Alice in Wonderland. There's a rabbit. And they play with those themes of Alice in Wonderland, but it has action combat. But it also has like abilities and things like that. And the writing's very fun. It's not voiced or anything, but and it feels like just a smaller, like a BAA. I don't know what the best way to put it, but this is a game that I think makes Game Pass so valuable because you can try it out. And when you don't have Zelda on your platform, having a game that's kind of Zelda-like, and this might be somebody's next favorite game, I think it's a hidden gem. And I only got to play a little bit. And once again, I got pulled away, but I was really enjoying what they did. And I loved the, and I don't know how deep it gets with like the different combat variants and power-ups and things like that, but I loved the structure and I liked what's there. And I think this is a studio that is definitely finding its way. And like you see like their elevation, like, oh, they're getting it. Oh, they're getting this. And it's improving and they're trying different genres. So I am really excited about the studio and I don't know what they do next, but I hope they continue their relationship with Xbox because I'm hoping it's paying their bills and it's getting them publicity. I think it is because I think I've seen Xbox and other people on the Xbox team talk about this game, which is one of the benefits of being on it. And they do publicize it. So I think they're finding a audience, which is essential to their success. And I can't wait to see what they do next. And when there's a lull, I'll get back to the game. So check it out. Mm-hmm. It's really fun.
Yeah, I remember seeing some trailers of it before it came out. And I think like what you said, that's something that attracted me to it too, was the art style. Before I even knew what it was about, I was like, whoa, this is a world that would be really cool to visually be in just because of like all the scenes and stuff like that. And yeah, like you said, the fact that it's on Game Pass, I think is awesome because it's one of those things that if for some crazy reason this year you have time from all the other amazing games, it'd be definitely a one to fire up and play.
It might play well on streaming. So like we know Brandon has his Logitech G thing, whatever it's called. It's the streaming tablet. I know he's done well with that. And I think it could work well there because it's on Game Pass Ultimate. If you have that, you can stream it. And it does feel a lot like a Link's Awakening, which was a great game on the Switch, which was like that throwback Zelda. So I think it's a game that can scratch your itch, kind of like Okami when Zelda felt a little bit old and Okami came out. I'm like, that's a great Zelda-like, and I feel like this once again is a good Zelda-like game. So definitely give Ravenlok a try if you're not into the Nintendo realm, but you want to try a game that's like it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think we've pushed this off enough. We've hinted at it. So Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, tears of a cake, tears of a building, tears. We're tearing up the building. The tears of the. I don't know. Does anybody figure this out so far? Is it tears like Zelda's got tears? She finds tears. Is she crying? Is Link crying? Are we all crying?
Yeah.
Everyone's crying.
Everyone's crying. Yeah. So we heard Mark's story of how he was a dad who. It's not that he's tired enough. He wants to be more tired by staying up late. Josiah, now you are in a multi-gamer household as well. So with yourself, your son, is anybody else playing the game, or is it just the two of you?
Just the two of us are playing right now. My wife likes to play, like the more like party style games. Like she likes Mario Kart and Mario Party, and she'll do some of the single player type games, but she more like enjoys like playing when everybody can play together style. So yeah, it's just Hezekiah and I right now playing it, which is more than enough people to play it with only one copy of the game. If we had two copies, we do have multiple Switches, so we could play by ourselves, but we only have one copy of the game. And I'm kind of like you. I'm not going to buy another copy of the game just so we can both play at the same time. I could definitely
do it physically or digitally.
Huh?
Do it physically or digitally?
Digital.
Oh, so you can't even I'm done. Here, put it in your Switch and play it.
Yeah, well, it's downloaded on both, so you just pick up and have your own saves and everything like that. But yeah, so I've been waiting this whole time after hearing Mark's talk about Zelda because I am a passionate Zelda fan. So let's see. I'm trying to be as level-headed, calm about Zelda. It is what it is. But I have to admit, I love Zelda, and to hear anything semi-negative does bother me a little bit. But I will. Okay, I'll let you.
I love Zelda too. I love Zelda too. For anyone just listening, I'm showing off my new fully healed Zelda tattoo.
If you're not listening, if you're not watching, Mark just took off his top and he's taking off his pants now. I'm not sure what's going on.
Everyone's blinded. I'm as white as the ghost of Tilda Swinton. And everyone's a little blind.
You have to watch YouTube to find out where Mark tattoo is. All I'm saying.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And now he's only wearing a Mandalorian helmet, and I won't even tell you where. But
he covered up his face, but he's okay with showing his body. He's a weird man.
The temptation to go get my Mando helmet right behind me is strong. Sorry. That's
okay.
Is that a lightsaber in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Generally, it's a lightsaber, but
okay. No. So I will say I kind of feel like I have the exact opposite experience than you about the two games, but I think it's because me specifically. Having all the crashes and stuff, because as you know, both of us, we're huge Star Wars fans too. So there's definitely nothing negative about that game in my passion or desire to play it and want it. Right. But I think because of that, and I had to replay the beginning sequence of that game 5 times.
Oh,
5 times.
Mercy.
Like walking at.
So you liked it 5 times more after the 5th time? You're like, this is the 5th greatest time.
I was just you gotta be kidding me, going through this. And so once again, I loved the recap. The recap was amazing. We've been playing Fallen Order recently, Hezekiah and I. And so we kind of are fresh off of that game once again. And so having that recap kind of threw us back in, and then where you start was really cool. I liked the start and kind of what was going on, and kind of how it puts you into the game. But once again, I don't know if it was the crashes or having to do it multiple times, but I kind of felt like that was a little slow. Whereas like to me on Tears of the Kingdom, you're immediately thrown into an epic story that you're just like, what? Like what the heck's happening? And then once again, I think just like we were thinking about Jedi Survivor, I was, like all the fans obviously are like, how are you going to have a sequel? Is there going to be something where you lose everything? And there obviously was, but I feel like in the sequel for Tears of the Kingdom, the story made sense enough, whereas like sometimes it's like so silly and you're like, come on, you couldn't have thought of anything else. Whereas like this, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like you have someone else's arm now, it's like so crazy. That was a crazy story.
You were left basically dead, and now you have someone else's arm. I get the reasoning behind it. I do think it's a good reason. I just, like I said, it was kind of like a slap for me of like, not even like in a negative kind. It was just like, and I didn't even realize it when I was playing. My wife and I were talking today, and she was like, yeah, there's just like, she was like, I don't know. She, for her hype level is not quite as high as she expected. And she thinks she's just, tired or whatever. But I was like, oh yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same. And it's just because like I didn't lose any of my powers in Survivor, but I totally get the reasoning. And I respect that for sure.
And I think,
and it's contrast.
Yeah, and it's not even, I think, like the reasoning or how it's like implicated, but like I think the story was great. Like I was immediately like sucked into the story. I love like the demeanor between Link and Zelda. I love like the looks that they shared. There's moments in there, like I gotta say, probably 2 moments I got goosebumps. In like the opening sequence, I'm like, what in the heck? Like this is the beginning of the game. I haven't even done anything. And it's funny because it's similar in the walking at the beginning. You're like walking through the cave. It's very similar, the 2 games, right? At the very beginning. And then you have Ganon like immediately, like you're just like, whoa, this is the big bad right there in your face within the first 5 minutes. I was like, what the heck's happening, But then, I agree. Like going back down to 3 hearts, 0 stamina, 0 powers. It definitely was kind of like, you're back to, you're just in a loincloth, essentially.
Well, and apparently your Sheikah slate's like the Wii U, where that's no longer forward compatible with the Switch, so you don't get you don't get that magnesis powers, which my son is frustrated because like, oh, Dad, you could do so many cool things, and people were worried about how would you fast travel this game because you could hit a boulder and just hit it a bunch of times and then just go. And apparently somebody already beat this game within an hour and like 15 minutes, which is just insane. Wow. So I want to touch on the story because and I'm going to be the party pooper guy. I finished Breath of the Wild. I had a lot of nits to pick with that game. I enjoyed parts of it, but I still felt like there's a lot of parts I'm like, there wasn't enough to keep me going. I never felt the surprise of Zelda was like, anytime I found something, I'm like, oh, it's more Korok seeds. I never felt like they gave you something like, this is amazing, I'm getting something awesome. No, more Korok seeds, more rupees, great. Awesome. Yeah, I went on 3 hours to get that. I'm like, yes, it's a Vista, whatever. But in this, I'm always taken out of this game when someone speaks for like 3 lines, and that's it. I no longer speak because Nintendo apparently doesn't want to pay their voice actors. I'm like, it's so inconsistent. And then there's points where he's staring at Zelda and Zelda's asking him a question and he's just staring. I'm like, that no longer makes any sense. It takes me completely out of the game. I feel like, but then it's like, oh, Link's going to talk, but we're not going to tell you what he told you. We're going to come back. I'm like, to me, and if we made Link talk, would anybody stop playing this game? No, that's not bad. Now, is the voice acting and direction not great? No, it's not great. Nintendo just doesn't care. They don't care about storytelling. I know that. But if you're going to do it, there are people that are great voice actors, great directors that they could hire. especially in America, because obviously they're a Japanese company, but so is Sony. And who does great voice acting and things? Sony, a Japanese company. So I feel like at this point, there's no excuse for Nintendo not doing more, except they're saying, well, we've always done it that way. You did it that way in the past because you didn't have that capability. You didn't get that capability until probably until the GameCube, because N64 were still carts and they couldn't do it. But that just takes me out of it. I like what they do. I like where they're going with the story, and it's unique. And my son and I are trying to figure it out. Like, what is actually happening? Was that really Ganon? Was it maybe Demise? And so it's got great storytelling elements. I just feel like, to me, it takes me out. So it's not going to be my game of the year because it's going to have to be only gameplay that compels me. I just don't have that. I've played Zelda since the first game. I've been playing longer than you guys have. But to me, I don't think the storytelling is why you come to Zelda. You come for the gameplay, the mechanics, and things like that. Storytelling is part of it, but that's where I feel like disappointed. Like, they could have taken some leaps forward. They didn't have to steal Zelda away. They didn't have to, but they keep doing that. And so many fans are disappointed that they want Zelda to be part of the adventure, not just a cutscene. So I think that's where, and so I think we can all agree to disagree, but that's kind of where I feel. But yeah, I think the game, to me, though, I didn't feel like that was that slow. I felt like I got into it pretty quickly and I got some of the powers, and I'm on the path of, I am getting all of the things I need to then I can explore. I still don't have my glider, and I think that's the last thing I'm lacking. So I need to find that.
Yeah. And I think like this game was even quicker than Breath of the Wild as far as like getting those initial like abilities, which I thought was pretty nice to have those really quickly before even you have a glider, which is kind of crazy. But I did want to kind of touch on what you said about like being in or out of a game. And I think that's super important for gamers, right? You want to feel invested in whatever you're playing, and that's what makes a game great. And like, I don't know why, but I think for me, like, the player that you're playing, either A, not speaking, or B, you being able to dictate what is said, I'm more invested into it. So like, that's kind of like why I like Destiny 2, because Destiny as well. I like Destiny 2 as well. But it's the same thing. And a lot of people were upset. Like, why doesn't he talk? Like, your character you play doesn't talk. And I was like, well, it's because it's you. Like, you are that person. He can't talk for you because you are that person. And that's why I was like invested in like games like that, or like the games that are, almost choose your own adventure style. It's also like to some of the different, open world games, like the Star Wars games, where you create a character, you get to decide your path, you get to decide what you want to do. And so there's not a lot of dialogue, but I kind of feel like that's good, because if there starts to be too much dialogue, you'd be like, oh, well, I would never say that, so then it almost kind of takes you out. Whereas like you think of like Jedi Survivor, it's Cal Kestis. You're playing Cal Kestis. You're not playing yourself.
I never feel like Link, I'm playing myself. I because if I was playing Link, I should never die because I'm great. If I'm playing, right, I'm like, Link should not fall down a cliff because he was a moron. I do feel like every time I have to hear Link go, like, that drives me nuts. I'm like, that's what Link, I have to hear Link do versus having a conversation with this woman. Come on. No, but I totally get it. It's just, for me, it feels like they've always said, oh, Link is the Link to the character. I'm like, but so is Mario, and he says stupid stuff, and it's fun. But, I don't know.
He doesn't say much, but yeah.
No, he doesn't.
But that is an interesting point that I will pause and say that Aonuma has said I have to say I am interested for sure, was his reply when asked if he was excited about the prospect of a Zelda movie. He also said it's the quote, but it's not just me being interested in something that makes things happen, unfortunately. So he's kind of saying maybe the voice of the fans is what's important here, implying that, hey, let's start like a public campaign. Like Zelda or Super Mario Brothers crossed 1.2 billion. It comes out digitally tomorrow for anyone that hasn't seen it in theaters and just wants that home experience. I can't wait to buy. I'm buying it like first thing tomorrow, and Finn and I are going to watch it.
Did you see the collector's edition, Mark, that you can buy? That has a star. There's a collector's edition, Blu-ray, and also comes with a digital code. though.
Oh, nice.
Interesting.
It's a star.
But
Yeah.
that's not coming out for a couple of weeks, though, right?
No,
I
it's.
thought that was
I
a
don't
really.
know. I would
thought
hold
it's
off and
digital
just get that, man. Or yeah, if you want the
yeah.
physical, I guess you could wait and get it. Yeah.
I haven't bought a physical movie in ages, so I'll probably just.
Well, it's just a
digital download
collector
it
star.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
So
we'll see. Okay.
So getting back to this, so sorry derailing, but so we kind of touched on the story. So in the actual like game, where this is the first real sequel to a Zelda game, where you're in the same world, I think we finally made people happy that you're not just in the same place. You were in.
Yeah.
I've only gone to two places: the sky and then Hyrule. I've not gone to the second place, and my son's already spoiled me and told me everything about it. So I am not escaping the spoilers because I have one in my house. But there's a third place you go that adds even more places to go. So I'm not going to say any more of that. What do you think of that? Do you feel like that was a good response of why did this game take so long? If it's going to be a sequel.
Yeah, for me, I understand why this game took so long right away. And as much as I said, like, you know, I compare some things to Jedi Survivor, I also played this game till 3 a.m. Friday, and played more Saturday, and played more Sunday. I have not like put this game down really. I did make a decision to go back to Jedi Survivor, but the reason I brought that up first was because that was surprising to me, because I really didn't think I was going to play another thing until I put 200 hours into this game. So it was surprising that I went back to anything at all. And I get it. Like the sky is amazing. Hyrule has changed enough. We see an evolution and them rebuilding and that kind of stuff, and going, like you said, to different levels or different places. I get it. I get why it took a little while, and I get why, you know, and not just that, but I think so again, the physics stuff, the ability to break things, the new abilities that, as Josiah said, like we got pretty quickly. You know, I'm still only at I think 4 or 5 hearts at this point. No real new stamina or whatever, but like I'm getting there. You know, I found a few Korok seeds. I've cashed those in, so like I can carry some more weapons and stuff. And like I feel like I'm progressing in a good way. I feel like the story has hooked me completely. And to your point, yeah, I kind of wished, again, like Cal and Marin, like maybe there'd be a little bit of more Zelda Link team up in this one. I get why she's taken out, and it's an interesting way to take her out. Not that she's so far where I am, not that she's necessarily kidnapped, but like there's something going on there, and it's like that mystery. I'm like, oh shoot, what is going on here? Like there's some intriguing bits, and seriously, the voice acting, I've thought so far it's been pretty good. I get the Link thing. It is what it is. But like everyone else, it's been all right. And like, I am captivated into the story. And I like for that kind of mystery of like, where's this going to go? How's it going to end? Like, I want to see it all. And it's like Breath of the Wild for me wasn't quite that. Breath of the Wild for me was more about that story of exploring my own personal story of like, I'm going to, you know, text my friend and be like, dude, I went up this hill. What way did you go? And it was that story that like, you know, share with your friends of just my exploration. It wasn't the actual story in the game. This one for me feels a little bit more like I want the story in the game. I want to find out what's going on. I want that next bit. So yeah, it's varied. And, you know, more traditional dungeons are apparently a thing. There's more, you know, chasms to explore. There's more stuff in the sky to explore. And then there's also the traditional, I'll say traditional, like Breath of the Wild style temples or whatever they're called. The
Shrines. Yeah.
Shrines. Man, yeah, I'm super impressed. Again, it feels, like I said, with Jedi Survivor, like this kind of feels like they took everything from Breath of the Wild and just amped it right up. And it might, you know, some little gripes about, again, going back to 3 hearts, but like, I'm fixing it pretty quickly. I'm not that far into the game, but it's, you know, it's coming along. But the rest of it, holy crap, did they ever just, to me, improve every aspect so far. And the new powers are very intriguing.
Yeah, and that gets me to the point where it's like I'm only at 4 hearts. I'm limited inventory. I'm learning back to the things because Koroks will get you more inventory slots. The shrines, which are a little bit different, but once again, still you have to get the powers of light or whatever. Correct, collect those, and you can turn those in more places to get your stamina, which are tied to your hearts, which is good because then you're figuring out what you need to do. So gets us to, and my son already said, oh yeah, I went to the castle and I went there right away. You can still go directly to the castle. You can still do all those things. There's nothing holding you back. And if you have a save left over from Breath of the Wild, you can get your horse back. And you can use your amiibos to get different outfits and different things like that too. The one that's the interesting one is the A Link to the Past, or no, Link's Awakening. Have you seen that one? So weird, but it's unique. That's all I'll say.
The giant head, it's amazing.
Yeah. They went full in.
And you unlock. So I've been scanning in my amiibos as well, and the new amiibos on the way should be arriving Wednesday or Thursday.
Nice.
But glider stuff, and I haven't been able to.
Oh, that's right. They have the mask, Majora's Mask, right? Version of the glider, right?
Bunch of different materials,
yeah,
for it that are based on different characters or games or whatever. Still don't know how to change that. I have the glider. I just have my standard. I'm guessing it's a shop or a setting that I haven't looked at yet.
Sure,
but and then outfits. Yeah, you can get a ton of stuff. I have and it's a random unlock, which is is what it is. But I got the Fierce Deity Link from Majora's Mask, which is just an amazing face mask thing to wear. So it's pretty badass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting as we go through this game and where it's headed and how long this is going to last. The last Breath of the Wild, they actually announced DLC at launch. They haven't done that yet with this game. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they need to, because this game seems pretty full. People have played 100 hours and said, I still am finding things like the last game. So maybe it's not needed. But it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. And this takes us down the rabbit hole of, how do you approach a game like this after coming off a game like Breath of the Wild? Are you going to go? Even the creator said, Enuma said, don't go with a main path because there's adventures to find. Now, I would say my lens would be get the key things you need so you aren't restricted on what you can do. Once you get all of your powers, so mainline it if you need a guide or whatever, obviously we can help you with that or whatever. But I think the only thing I'm lacking is my my glider. But how do you guys like the powers? Because the powers are through shrines and you get those and you do your thing. So we've got the Ascend. If I'm getting these wrong, you can correct me. We can get the Ultra Hand, which is building things. The Fuse, which is making crazy weapons. You then get the Reverse Time ability, and then you also have your Slate, which allows you to then put pins in the map and things like that. Right. Am I missing anything?
That's the beginning.
Not off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, do you have a favorite ability?
Oh man, I think favorite ability, like fun to use, is Fuse, because that is definitely I think for sure a lot of my enjoyment now in video games comes through watching my son get excited. And like I said before, he loves building. So to add that into Zelda, which is, Breath of the Wild was one of our favorite games of all time, playing together, it's like incredible because now he's getting something, a style of gaming that he really, really enjoys, and then putting it into the Zelda universe. So yeah, I think that is probably like the funnest. Now, on the other hand, I think what's the most useful so far, I think Ascend is absolutely incredible. I mean, it kind of it changes everything. In the game, just being able to just go whoop, okay, now you're up here, that's, and I like also when you first get it and you're going down to the surface and the only way to get to where you jump off is you have to use the ascend. So it's like having you use ascend, right? Like you're like, oh, I can't go anywhere. I can't jump. Oh, I have to go up, and you just, like things like that. It makes, traversing more unique, like, okay, how should I go here? Oh, I can, create this flying machine and fly over there. I can go into the cave and ascend to the top of the cave. It's like, like it makes things more unique. Oh, I can make this crazy wagon and, just, Mad Max across Hyrule to get to wherever you're going to go, shooting like goblins, as you go, I don't know. I think it's really unique. And I think the one thing I was worried about with the sequel, like when I think of most sequels, is either is it going to feel horrible, to go back? Like Destiny did a similar thing when they came out with Destiny 2. They basically just like made everybody almost zero, if you want to call it that. And you had to start grinding back up again. And you're like, how do I that doesn't make sense to lose something that I already had, and they try to be like, oh, you also lose all your weapons because there is an explosion and everything blew up. And so now you have nothing again, so it's like, those things are obviously bad. But on the other hand, the other thing is if you're allowed to keep what you have, there's the issue of power creep too, because then it's, everything has to continually progressively be, crazier, right? Like as you go. And I think you kind of touched on that, Todd, when you were saying like, what would Jedi Survivor do for a third one? Like, can you keep everything by the end of Survivor? Are you going to have all those abilities? Like, and it's like, what do you have next? You're
going to get you're going to get a third hand with an extra weapon. Like you're going to get 18 lightsabers. And I'll point to that. My son was fighting a Lionel in the new area.
Okay.
And he was he's an excellent, he was doing everything right, like doing all the different moves and blocking. He's like, Dad, I'm going to run out of weapons before I can beat this thing. Yeah. So being overpowered, he's like, Dad, and I got all these power. I'm like, being overpowered it's still not going to be easy when you've got these Lionels that just like, when I see all these hits, I'm like, that is like a 3 million hit Lionel and he is going to run out of weapons. So what's he going to do? And it's like, there's nothing else to get. So he's like, he's got to come back. So this becomes I can't get you now. I'll get you later. I'll have my long pokey stick times 3 with a boulder with 85 hits attached, and I'll hit you and I'll take you out in one hit. Mm-hmm. It'll be poking you from 3 miles away because it'll be the longest stick. Yeah. But it's interesting, the approach, like being overpowered. I don't know if that's going to be a thing in this game. Mm-hmm. I know some people said that once they got a big weapon, but now you can fuse. That fixes durability for a lot of people, which I haven't found like my weapons are that inconsequential. Now, making sure you've got enough slots and enough things applied. So if you run out of weapons and all you've got left is a stick and an apple, that might be a problem. And then in the middle of combat, you fuse those two. That's a big problem. I think a lot of people are talking about that UI to fuse, unless you prepare for a battle in advance, to fuse in combat, it's not going to be easy because you have to take a weapon. You have to get your weapon out, take the thing you want to fuse it to, put that on the ground, then fuse, do the thing. So you really have to and that's a lot like the old Witcher games where you had to prepare in advance, build up your arsenal if you're going to go into weapons. So it does have a lot of strategy to approach a battle. So, it made me think of what you're talking about, like the Ascend. So the Ascend's a cool ability unless you don't have a glider and then you're diving into the ground. Not a good plan. I've done that multiple times. So like I said, have your abilities before you do that. But the ones that I thought were funny, and I saw some cool, and this is the whole, the social media aspect of this game. You cannot mute this game. No. You'll have no friends. It'll be you and like the person with one follower. That's the only people that you'll be able to see on social media if you mute these things.
One follower.
Exactly. And I saw the coolest thing today. My problem was you get the wing and you want to launch it and you get the jets on it. And like, how am I going to do that? He's like, oh, you just do the rewind. You basically lift it up and then you bring it back down. You climb on it. You do the rewind and you have it launch when it's in the air. I'm like, I am dumb. This game is going to make me feel so dumb. And that's the brilliance of it, right?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
I think we continued to do the same thing, like overthinking things because of the abilities that you have. I end up like being like, oh, maybe we gotta do it. I'm like, oh, like just use the ability the way that they set it up to use. But I don't know, like it's definitely interesting, I think, with the fusing aspect to it. I'll have to mess with it more, but I think, and maybe you guys know this, but I think when you're fusing stuff to like your arrows, you can.
That's awesome.
That's can do on the fly.
I wish weapons were like that. You pull you have your weapon, you pull it across, fusing that. I wish they did that.
So I like that aspect. And then the other thing that I noticed too, which I'm still really early on of like, almost 20 hours, but really early on in the game.
20 hours?
Yeah. And
can I check my time on my Switch right now?
Good. But yeah, so I think the other thing that was interesting, and I think it told you really quick on, but like it starts telling you that you get like crit, like extra crit points, right? So like it's like if you hit this in the eye, it does an extra crit damage, and then it said later if whenever your weapon breaks, that hit will be extra damage as well. So like I like that they added in like kind of extra stuff like that. So it's almost like, in a way you're like, oh man, I'm about to run out of stuff. Whereas on Breath of the Wild, what do? You're like, oh, my thing's about to break. I'm going to switch maybe because I'm in the middle of a battle. Yeah. Whereas like this one, you play it to the point where you're like, okay, it's almost going to break. I can get this final hit in with extra damage, type thing. And so I thought that was kind of interesting too.
And I've been playing to that strategy of, okay, my weapon's about to break. I'm going to do my power up charge and do the big swing, or I'm going to huck this at your face and get my next weapon ready. And it's like, because that, like a throw with that eye hit and that last bit of damage, like you're going to do knockback if you don't kill them. Mm-hmm. And it gives you that time of like, okay, they're like rolling down a hill or whatever. Like I just really, really socked them and I have time to bring out my next weapon and go for it. So like that strategy and planning kind of like you said, Todd, is like, to me, super interesting.
Yeah.
And you like, I'm seeing that like very, very early on of like my brain starting to be like, okay, ready. I'm ready to like get my critical hit with this snap. Todd, to your original question there of what power up I like the best, I do love Ascend. It's an interesting mechanic, and it almost feels broken. Of like, like that you could just do so much, and I almost forget to use it sometimes because it's like, wait a second, I can just warp back up to the ground. This is amazing. And as much as I love that, I do have to say I love just like putting things together. And like the first time I built a random like car, like you said, you can't even steer the stupid thing, but I like mangled it together. I put a couple of fans on the back of it, and I was just like, there's some bokoblins over there, and I'm just gonna Dukes of Hazzard my way into this.
Yep.
And I just set it on its path, and I got my arrow out, and I had like attached a bomb to the arrow, and I shot their little treehouse. I was like, "Come at me, bro!" And I attached another fire thing to my arrow, and I shot that one. I like jumped it. Like it was just, it's such a ridiculous game already.
Yeah.
That I'm like, what can I attach to the other thing? The one of the reasons I picked Kuko Army is because I was slightly upset that you can't attach living things to a weapon or a shield.
That'd be
sorry, Mark.
I wanted to go find a
your chicken. Animal experimentation, Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah, I wanted to attach a chicken to my shield, so when something hit me, the chicken army hit them. That's not possible.
You could throw your shield maybe, and then they would hit the Coco, and that would cause the chaos, right?
I feel like they're still going to come at me, though. I want them to come at me.
They know your intent. They can feel your intent.
I think the chicken's like, okay, cool. I'm attached to a shield. I feel safe. And
I saw what you did.
This thing's hitting me with a spear. I'm going to attack that guy instead of Link. I like that, but these guys are just, you can't do that. So, whatever, like Nintendo, PETA, like can't attach a chicken to a shield, whatever, fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, right away the abilities just feel so delightfully broken in
Yeah.
the best possible way. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, can this stupid idea like attaching fans to a glider and then using that reverse time. I figured that out on my own. I was like, hey, wonder if this will work. And it did, and I was just like, I can't believe that just worked.
I am a
And
genius. No one else has done this.
Mm-hmm.
Praise me.
why was it even that? It was like, what else can I attach to what?
Exactly.
Like, can I just what can I do? And it is fun. Like before you get your paraglider, I did have one. I thought I was going to dive into a lake, and I dove down so fast,
That you
and I
hit the
missed
bottom.
the lake by a foot and a
Oh.
half. No, I hit the shoreline, and it was just like one of those like Bruce Banner hitting the Rainbow Bridge in Thor Ragnarok.
Yes.
You think he's going to come down as the Hulk, and he just like
It's like the diver hits the diving board. It's like that did not go as I thought.
Oh
No.
God, that was rough. And
Yeah.
instantly dead Link, just like,
Mhm.
should have just been snapped in half. I was like, okay, yeah, all right. Yep, diving just doesn't automatically suck you into the water. Like
Nope.
that's
Yeah.
it's rough.
No, you want it to be the land of 10,000 lakes like Minnesota. You really do. Not the land of like a couple of ponds, and they're very shallow. I was going to say, did you see the video? This is really cool, and we'll probably transition as well. Somebody used the recall. They built they fused something, but they used the recall. They moved it around, and they had a Hynoc coming after them. They used the recall, and they had this thing moving around, and then they let it go. And it was attacking the Hynoc and killed the Hynoc. And it was just moving around. It was so brilliant. I'm like, this is like a sniper, and it's just going after it. It's like almost like a magic spell. And it was absolutely hilarious. So it's like you talk about how people would use like the old ability, like magnesis and things, hit it, and then it would hit them.
Yeah.
And people are finding ways to use this offensively, like they did the old game. So I love the fact that they're saying, you know what? You probably would know how to use those things if you brought those old mechanics in the new game. Nope, where everybody's starting off from scratch. And I kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has to learn this stuff from scratch, which is nice because a new set of creators, a new set of people will come and say, hey, old timers, you were great back then. We're hardcore, like your son, my son, the builders. I'm not a builder. I built a 3-wheel cart. It worked,
Nice.
but it was the most jank thing I could build. And because I don't have a steering wheel, no ability to move it, and it's just pointless. I'm like, where's my horse? I'm just
I love that everyone in the world wants to be a badass, and Todd makes his Link Mr. Bean. Like,
oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm big shirtless Rod. I have no shirt. I want a shirt. Where do I buy a shirt? I finally bought a shirt. I'm shirtless half the game. Going up that like the winter part where you're gonna get warm.
Yeah.
That was my odyssey. I would have just quit the game at that point. I'm like, I got my stuff. They did it the last game though too. I remember that. It was just like, just get there. Just get there. Get some clothes. So this game is a lot of fun. I have my disc to pick. One of my biggest nitpick. It's still a little clunky in the UI, getting everything done. I want to just completely change all of my controls. They like went halfway and they're like, oh, you can jump. That's like, I never want my crouch on my L. I mean, how many times are you like running and you actually hit it, play and you crouch and you're like, I stopped. I had the same problem with Breath of the Wild. Let me just remap my controls.
I know.
Nothing wrong. It's not taking away the mystery. Just let me do it. Because I try. You can do it universally on the Switch. But when you do it, it doesn't work as you would expect for everything. Like in menus, when you want to drop a weapon, it's just so dumb. And my son said, Dad, you got to change it back. So when you share a Switch, it doesn't work. So I really hope they continue to patch this game, let people play how they want to play, not taking away their mechanics, but just the UI. Like we said, fusing is a little bit clunky. There's certain things that are a little clunky that I hope they fix and make it easier for people, because I think everything else is genius. And it's a great game.
Yeah, I know. Like we're going to talk about this a little more in the next the next subject, but just in general, like with this game too, it does kind of make you wonder where the future is going based on what they have here, what they put out here, what they put out now. If this game came out last year, it'd make, to me, a little bit more sense versus coming out right now, and where they are in the platform wars, if you want to call it that. So I think it is really interesting, and I hope if they do have DLC, maybe they will address some of the little issues that have already been kind of creeping up. And then I think the other thing too is I'm curious to see, since I'm so early on in it, how they address like the set bonuses too. Because going back to like what you were saying about preparation, we would always do that kind of based on what we are going to be doing. We're like, all right, we're going to be here, so we're going to have this because it has this, resistance, or it does, if we have this, then it's going to give us X amount of attack or whatever it might be, like, and so I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to play this along with the different areas. And I really hope they do it in a way that it's like, you want this armor, not only because it helps you survive, but it gives you a real bonus. Like, all right, now I'm legit, I got this full set, now I'm going to go wreck some, whatever, so yeah. Be interested.
I will say that that's a thing where like you want to balance like cosmetics and capabilities. I think the last Harry Potter game, Mark, your wife probably could tell you about all of this fun stuff, but you had the ability to keep an aesthetic or apply an aesthetic on an armor set you loved. Like, I want to look like this, but I don't want to lose my cool, plus 24. And Destiny does that a lot, where Destiny will say, you want to keep a specific thing, but you want to look cool.
Yeah.
I don't want to look like a doofus and be a badass. I want to balance out my coolness, because I know I don't look cool in real life, but I want to look cool as Link. I don't want to look like the Destiny guy that has like I look like I'm a doofus. Like, I just found this at a thrift store and I got lucky, but it doesn't match.
Yeah. Right? And like, I'm the same way. Hezekiah is not. He makes the weirdest things. And I'm like, why are you wearing this? Like, he has like 3 different random stuff. No, he looks this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life, and he just thinks it's funny,
stripes, like, solids, polka dot. Yeah, it all looks good.
He paints everything. It's all different colored. And I'm just like, you spent rubies on this? Like, come on, man. Oh, man.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh boy. Well, wow. We'll have much more to talk about this game, because we'll see where Mark goes. I will be curious to see where Mark goes, his journey. And I know where I'll be, because I will rarely I've got a Switch in my hand right now. And by the way, I'm going to do this again. These Binbach controllers, my son loves them. I love them. They are phenomenal. I would not play the Switch manual. Like these are wonderful. They have so many cool ergonomic ways. They don't sell them anymore. I'm not going to you can buy them elsewhere in different formats, but that's how I would play. But that's how my son plays too. So
that's too bad they don't sell them anymore.
I'm not sure why.
Yeah, my joy. So we bought the original Switch when it came out. And then we bought a second pair and we got the black one. Then we got a second pair of red and blue Joy-Cons. The blue one from way back then finally went out. The lights went out like a few months ago, but it still worked. And now it's just finally doesn't even work. It doesn't work when it's in, doesn't charge, And so I was like, I'm at the point where I wanted to buy new ones. And anyways, so I was thinking about doing something like what you just showed, though, instead of the Joy-Cons, doing something that's like, the Hori ones or whatever, where it let's
say the Hori Switch Pad Pro looks very similar.
Something like that.
They're not. I have those. They don't have rumble. They don't have a lot of the capabilities. These have everything but NFC. They rumble. They motion control everything. Like, especially if you play Splatoon, that's where Hori won't work, because there's no motion. Maybe there's, I don't know. It's weird with Switch, but the only thing this doesn't do is NFC, and they do have other versions that are like this, which are available, and they're only like $40 versus $80 for new set of Joy-Cons. So if you can do it, you can hold off. I would highly recommend something like that, because even ergonomically, my wrists aren't hurting. It feels like a pro controller, and that was my joke, and we'll get into that in the segment. But I hope everybody's having a good time, and I have an OLED. I traded my original for an OLED, and
we did too.
And Mark's it's a great system. It's a great update. So there we go. So moving on to the bonus round. So Mark, what did you deem this bonus round?
WTF Nintendo. Bringing back the spirit of if we ran Nintendo, kind of, I guess, for this or something. But like, okay, we're talking about literally one of the best games ever made, potentially, depending on who you are or what review you're reading. But like, reviews across the board are pretty freaking positive for Tears of the Kingdom. And like we've alluded to a couple of times, there's really not much left for this year. We know, not that we know of anyway, but we know that Pikmin 4 is on the horizon. It looks fun. It looks great. I'll probably pick that up with my second voucher because I used the first part for Tears of the Kingdom. I only bought one voucher because like, what
Me
else
too.
am I going to buy? What else is there? Announce some new stuff. And we've also heard that. So Nintendo had their shareholders meeting or whatever. They announced a couple of things. One, that the sales have been dropping on the Switch. Now they have kind of come back and said that sales at this time in a life cycle are still impressive and they're in unprecedented territory because there's still demand for the current model, which also means we're not seeing a price drop. So no price drop, no new model on the horizon. This seems like a kind of swan song for the Switch, Tears of the Kingdom. So I kind of wanted to ask what your thoughts are on the current state of Nintendo. The fact that we will definitely, they have come out and straight up said, and it's been corroborated by, I think Bloomberg had like the big one, like we're not seeing a new console, at least in this fiscal year, which means the earliest they're going to launch a new console is like April of 2024. And that if they pulled like we said not in this fiscal year, but here's day one of next fiscal year. And here's Switch.
Mark, they said it's not in their numbers. That's the only thing.
Right.
So meaning they're not, because if they put something huge in their numbers, that would tip off everybody. It's like, we're launching something, because why would you put all that number? What's big? Is it a big game or new hardware? So as of right now, they're saying this was at their year end, and they do a fiscal year like my company does fiscal year. It's May to June or whatever. So, and it's funny because Switch is the first system that has ever sold over 1 billion pieces of software. The DS has sold more hardware units, but they only got to 948. So that's impressive. The Wii only got to 921 million units of software. So it's impressive. And they are going to sell more consoles because of Zelda, but they're not going to sell more than they did when it was COVID going on, things like that. It's the progression. They said they've never sold this many systems in the life cycle of a plant. And that's totally true, because they peaked and then it was just the death knell until something else came out. So it's impressive numbers for sure. But and I think we talked about this, they launched all of their major titles: Mario Kart, Smash, Pikmin, Pokemon, what else? 2 Splatoons, a big Mario 3D game. So the question becomes, as a company, do you put another big bangers out on hardware? You can only sell so many more hardware units because there's already some out in the wild. Or do you hold those to make sure you have a steady stream of software like the Switch did? The Switch was an impressive launch, because not only launched with a Zelda, which I don't remember the last Nintendo hardware that sold with such a strong title, but then it was Mario Kart like 3 months later, then Splatoon. I mean, they had a fantastic first year, and every year they've had, Xbox would love to have the first party launches every year that Nintendo has had. Xbox sometimes struggles to have one big first party, but Nintendo typically has 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 a year.
Yep. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So there's right now, as it stands, like right now today, there's not a ton to complain about as a Switch owner. But looking into the future, I kind of want to pose a couple of questions. One, when do you realistically think we'll be getting a new console? Is it like April and they'll pull the aha kind of thing? Or is it even like, are they going to try to push this further down? And two, what do you think that console is going to look like? The reason I ask that, and we kind of talked about this before we started recording, but I'll fill everyone listening in. My thinking, if I ran Nintendo, I would have the Switch 2 or Switch Pro or whatever we want to call it. Like, it's got to be spec'd out by now.
Yeah.
You have to, if it was a simple upgrade of the Switch, and that's kind of what we've all been thinking for years, they're going to 3DS this. They're not going to, keep doing weird gimmicks.
Yeah.
It's just going to be like the DS to the DSi to the 3DS to the 3DS XL to the new 3DS. Like it was, you know what I mean? Like they kept iterating the hardware, making it a bit faster and this and that here and there. But like they didn't really change the form factor, even from the original DS to the new 3DS. Like that form factor was kind of there. And I kind of thought Switch would be the same, right? Like I thought this was going to be like 20 years of this same kind of like general hybrid design of like a tablet that you could dock and just kind of keep upgrading the internals. Is that the case? Like, do you guys think that's the case? They've said we want to surprise and delight with the next console, but that's really all they've said. Is Nintendo going to do something wacky?
Oh God, I hope not.
Are we going to get some weird gimmick? Are we going to get like what do you guys realistically think with them seemingly like it seems like if hardware sales are down, this holiday would be a great time to launch something new. If they're not, like what that's worrisome to me as someone who wants a Switch 2. Just give me more of this amazing tablet that I've had. Give me more of that, please. I will pay money and you take my money and just make me happy with the thing. And like it seems to me, it's like, oh shit, Nintendo's gonna Wii U this, and because they've got a Wii on their hands right now. That sounded weird.
Yeah.
But you know what? Okay, so Nintendo's like they've got this big success like the Wii was, and then they did a weird thing with the Wii U, and the Switch is their next, like that's their big success. Are they gonna do are they gonna let it Wii U itself?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I will kind of say they actually did do a Wii U, a Wii to a Wii U with the OLED. Like in a way,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they changed it and they did something a little bit better. They didn't go crazy because when they went crazy last time from the Wii to the Wii U, it failed. So I think that's why it was so subdued. And I'm super happy with going from the Switch to the Switch OLED. Was it everything I've ever dreamed of? No, but I think it was a good like 0.5 Switch 0.5, right? Like I think it was good enough for what they did at the time. Another thing, since you guys were talking about Breath of the Wild, is Breath of the Wild also came out on the Wii U. So that's something I was thinking about from the very beginning when people were talking about Tears of the Kingdom. I was like, okay, is a new console coming then? Is it going to be like last Zelda where it launches on the Switch, but the best place to play it on is the new console that they're going to tell you about later? It makes sense, like you were saying, based on a business perspective, to not tell people about your new console as long as possible because you don't want to stifle sales. Now you also have the game that just launched, the special edition, right? That just launched, the new controller that just launched. Like some of these things, you definitely want as much sales as possible. It's Nintendo; they're going to milk it. But it really changes things if the next console is different enough that you can't use Switch cartridges. If you can't, if it's not backwards compatible, the next one, then that's where I feel like it's that's gonna change everything. If it's a completely new console that there's no backwards compatibility, and they tried something really crazy out there. And that's what kind of worries me versus what you're saying. You were saying the other option is where you get a Switch on steroids and you get the same style, but an even better screen, better battery life. You can play, even like, and I'm not even asking for a lot. So like, once again, if it's me and someone says like, what's the bare minimum for you to be super hype? I'd be like, just bump the numbers up a little bit. Give me a little bit more battery life in handheld mode. Give me 1080, at a maybe
How
a
about
little, like,
60 frames per second tiers of
60
the
frames per second, and then like say like
Yeah.
docked. Could you imagine docked at 1440? You know what I mean? Just
SSD
like,
instant load times.
yeah, and it's not even that, like, I'm not asking for a lot here. I mean, you have
No.
a PlayStation 5 literally right here. You got an Xbox sitting right here. Like, it's not a lot to ask. You have some of these new ones, like maybe the Logitech one isn't so good of a comparison, but like the Steam Deck or the new one from Asus, right?
The Rogue
Like,
Ally. Yeah.
the Rogue Ally. It's a fat boy, right? So I mean, that's something to think about.
But it also plays Game Pass. It also plays the library of that system is bigger than any other system in the world because it plays Steam. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So like some of those things I know Nintendo has to be thinking about. They are also Nintendo and they're going to do whatever they want, but they have to have people sitting in the room thinking like, hey, we made something so amazing. People are copying us. Right. So like, now what are we going to offer next that is going to be industry changing, where some of the other people are saying, oh, Nintendo did that and look how great they're doing. We need to maybe try to implement something similar. Right. So I don't know. It's really hard to say, but I really feel like next year is going to be the launch, and the ultimate sales and success of Tears of the Kingdom, I feel like, is also going to be intertwined with if it's available on the new console. Because just like this one, they have the sales of the Wii U on Breath of the Wild and on the Switch. So like when you look at the numbers, you're like, whoa, that is a lot. Well, there is also two consoles that had it. And like you were saying, it was basically, if you want to call it, a launch title, right? Because it was available at launch, although it was on the previous generation as well. So, since it's such a huge epic game, that does play something. Now, the other thing is, I think Nintendo might be showing their cards a little bit with a $70 Tears of the Kingdom game. Them throwing out a $70 game may be telling us that that's what you need to be expecting with at least the next console. I mean, is Pikmin going to be 70? I don't know.
Metroid Prime Remaster was 40. So they said they were not going to be. That was not going to be. It would depend on the software, which I appreciate that.
I do like that. That was something that intrigued me, like coming from like Nintendo themselves. I would love that if more, like if Xbox or PlayStation did a little bit more similar. Now I know there's like Miles Morales, but I mean that was kind of like, I mean, whatever you want to call it. But
Skyward Sword, they charge 60, and when people look at Metroid Prime Remaster, people are like, that looks like a remake. And Skyward Sword still looked like a Wii game.
Yeah,
with a little bit of high HD textures. Yeah, so it was interesting mix. So here's a question, and not to cut you off, but I mean, when you talk about Nintendo always saying they want to delight their customers, always doing something different doesn't always result in delighting their customers. The Wii U, if it was all about software, the Wii U would have been a success. The hardware got in the way. They charged $350. They got in the way. They took away affordability. And they also said, we have a confusing message. But still, if the software was king, then it would have sold better. Software only goes so far. So I'm wondering, is the things that were unique about the Switch in regards to like the weird things, IR sensor, HD rumble, the Joy-Cons, I don't think those played in the success of the Switch. It was great software and play how you want to play.
Yes.
I don't know if you have to do anything more than that. Has PlayStation ever said we're going to completely change the game except for not making backwards compatible? PlayStation has been probably the most successful because they said you can keep playing your games or you get more of the same, but we're going to give you more capabilities to play those games a different way. Like PlayStation 4, wildly successful. And they said, yeah, we're going to do backwards compatible because, or PlayStation 5 backwards compatible because guess what? You want to play your old games. That delights you. Taking away your library doesn't delight anybody.
I would not be delighted. I'll tell you right now.
Bill, you mentioned it earlier. 1 billion pieces of software from if they hit their 15 million units sold this year, which they said might be a little bit of a stretch. So
140.
Let's pretend that they do that. They're hitting 140 to 141 million Switch owners with over 1 billion pieces of software that they're going to potentially piss off if they don't make this thing backwards compatible.
And then close a library, an online game like you just had with the 3DS and said, by the way, we're closing your store and you can't buy those games again. And at the cost of where they are and multiple, and let's be honest, people own multiple Switches. They don't own multiple PS5s or multiple. You don't. So it's more expensive to be a Switch family because you don't have a subscription service that you can play your latest and greatest Xbox games. You can with whatever once they unleash the Xbox Family Plan. But I mean, to your point, you said, I'm not spending $70 for 2 copies. Mark, you have 2 copies, I assume, in your household. I mean, they're making more per household than any other software. So I think that would delight people. Hey, they used to have the classics line, the selects line, where when a Nintendo property got so far, they would make it affordable. Nintendo is no longer a value play for families. It is expensive. It is essentially more expensive than getting an Xbox Series S and getting Game Pass. Yeah. You have more games and you can play it. So I'm hoping Nintendo doesn't destroy everything they've built just because they want to start from scratch. And their CEO said, we've never had to do this before. And they haven't, because they've never been in a position where they had to worry about how you transition. They've got an online service now. They've got digital libraries, and how they go forward is going to be very important. But I mean, they are now concentrating all of their software on one platform. If they screw that up and said, we're going to develop for the old Switch and a new system at the same time, you think that's going to be a great software launch? It's not. But you can continue to support and make things backwards compatible for the old Switch. Just make it 30 frames per second whenever. It's good enough, just like PlayStation 4 games are still coming out. Xbox One games are still coming out. I mean, Hogwarts Legacy just came out on the old platforms, and those look pretty decent. Not great, but... Yeah, so I'm hoping
November on Switch, though, right?
I mean, just call it a Switch Pro, but make it Pro controllers for your controls. And kill the Joy-Cons. And improve the Joy-Cons because the Joy-Cons suck.
It's true. The Joy-Cons, although was their focal point, is not the success of the Switch. And it's not even, and I think that's part of the reason why the Lite was so welcomed with open arms, because it didn't have Joy-Cons. You got rid of the Joy-Cons. And so that brings me to my other question too. With a new launch, what does the whole lineup look like? Do they continue selling the OLEDs? Do they continue selling the lights? Do they continue selling the original? They
have to consolidate because they can't keep producing 85 versions. They probably do a Switch Lite, maybe a Switch OLED, a Lite OLED, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Wouldn't it be amazing? Wouldn't it delight us if they came out with a new Switch? Let's call it a Super Switch, and then they had also a Super Lite. So they have a similar lineup, but they're both advanced. Like that. I would.
And you
love
have a value. You have the Series S and X.
Both of them. Yeah. It's because I love the Lite for certain things, and I love the OLED for certain things. So I think having the choice in having both of them plays to, like you were saying, it makes sense for my family to have both of those. I don't. For me, it doesn't make sense to have 2 OLEDs or 2 lights, but it does for my family at least make sense to have a Lite and an OLED.
I'd be okay with them launching basically almost like phone sizes with
Ooh.
and have everything look like the Lite. Just have it one contained system that you can dock, and you need to get the Pro controller.
Ooh.
Screw the detachable Joy-Cons.
Oh, dude,
Yes.
you literally just gave me goosebumps.
Mark,
You-
that's a great point. Not
You're
being able
like,
to dock the light was so dumb.
oh,
Was so dumb.
were-
Not being able to dock the light was the dumbest thing they ever
it
figured out.
was.
Why did they do that?
It's because
Yeah.
they're coming out with a super switch that is just like that can be docked. And so it's the
And
best
that
of
would
both
still-
worlds.
compatibility with a few games, but
Yeah.
I'd be willing to sacrifice like a couple of games for like mostly backwards compatibility
Yeah.
with like a self-contained unit. And you could do that way, you could do the XL, the standard, and the mini.
Mm-hmm.
Just like phones. You can get, an
Yeah.
iPhone,
Mhm.
standard iPhone mini, or the iPhone Pro. Or
I'm
whatever the hell
for
they-
that.
Right? I think that's like such a
And
great
you-
way to go.
And you add more hard drive space or something else. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's worth it more than just the screen size. And now the Pro controller is great. I love the Pro controllers. Is it the reason to have the Joy-Con so they can just have something that's like an extra purchase? Is that why they had it?
Yeah.
Is it more of like a selfish reason, a businessman to say doing this versus like the Switch Lite? Because I've heard like Switch Lites are breaking faster than Joy-Cons are. I haven't heard much at all about the Joy-Cons or the Switch Lites being a problem.
No. Yeah, I've had no issues with ours. And yeah, that is something to think about. But I do think they, like, with the Joy-Cons, they wanted to mix some of the stuff that they did, with the Wii and, like kind of going through, they wanted to blend that stuff. I don't think that, like you said, it didn't pay off. And I hope they realize that the Joy-Cons isn't why the Switch is successful, and that they put a bunch of like, R&D into more of that, because like you said, like I would love having that. You had a great point about, even if you have like, the mini has, 720, then, the mid-sized is 1080, and then the top one 1440, like, and then the hard drive space also increases as you get larger.
Battery life.
Like, oh yeah, and battery life, because obviously it's a bigger unit, and
Yep.
yeah, so if you get like a couple hours more on each one, I mean, man, they'd be selling like hotcakes. But the problem is, no matter what they do, they will. And that's the problem, is like almost whatever they do, as long as they don't go crazy.
I was just going to say almost whatever
Yeah,
they do. Because we've
almost,
seen
yeah.
them do that so much.
Yeah.
We've seen that, like, you think, oh, like after the Wii, you'd think,
Yeah,
oh,
so
Nintendo
excited.
can just poop in a bucket and people still buy it
Yeah,
and,
right,
and
right.
play Mario Kart. But like people didn't, because the Wii U was a solution looking for a problem that it
And the
never
3DS,
found.
they had to drop the price 6 months after.
Yeah.
So yeah, they
Yeah.
have to be very careful how they transition.
That's true.
But
That's
we've seen with the Steam Deck and the new Aside Rogue, they can go up in price for an SSD. They can do all these things. And has a Nintendo fan ever said, I won't spend that? And they can have an entry model for but I think most Nintendo fans are hardcore, want the best that Nintendo has to offer. They paid more for a Switch with the OLED at $350. So I think having those price entry points can get them what they want, delight people, and really make an impression. So Mark, I like yours, multiple entry points, and and make great software.
Yeah, I would love that, because when you think about it, kind of like what we are saying, like it being like Breath of the Wild being available on the Wii U. Could you play it? Yes. I had a friend that had it, played the whole thing, played hundreds of hours on it, enjoyed it. Was it the best place to play? No, it wasn't. But I think that giving people that option, you're going to have a lot more happy fans. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that if they know, they're going to feel upset if they know that they're not cared about, I guess, if you want to call it that way. But if they can do it in a way like PlayStation, where they're saying, we're going to care for you, we're going to spend time and energy, that everything you have and your investment is still valid, it's still worth it. Because let's say you buy one holiday season and the new one comes out in April, they won't necessarily be very happy that they just spent this money and now the new one's very similarly priced right?
Mhm.
And way better. So I think if they can still say like you can, these games coming out, they're still coming for the Switch, right?
Yeah.
But the best place to play is here. I think you're going to
But what
get
if
a
they
lot
didn't,
more.
though?
What if they didn't?
I mean, but if they didn't, they said, hey, we're cutting it off.
Yeah.
Look how big the Switch library is. You cannot say like, oh, there's horrible games. It's nothing.
Right.
There's been no bigger, robust library for a Nintendo console than the Switch. So
Yeah.
if you bought it year 7, do you really expect to get 10 more years of new releases? No, you were late to the
It's
party,
true.
or you just wanted an extra system. So I have no conscience for like, oh, you aren't getting the next big thing. If you get a couple of years, I mean, look at PlayStation, all those games that have still continued on PS4. Maybe it'll happen. I don't know if Nintendo's going to do that, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
After the Wii U, how many games came to the Wii U after the Switch launched?
That's true. But I will say, though, everyone who just got the special edition OLED right now, if a new one does come out, that still is a pretty close time.
I think the people that bought those own a couple Switches already. I don't think it's like new entries. I think those people are knowing what they're doing. They own like 5 3DSs. They own those. Nintendo fans that are buying a Switch now. Yeah.
I will tell you, though. So I don't know if you guys know Adam Brock from The Rock Show. I had me and Hezekiah's weekly show on Saturdays on that YouTube channel. But he just bought his very first Switch ever.
Wow.
Right now. And he was literally on the edge and like telling me like, I don't know, do you think I should? Like, when do you think the next one's coming out? Do you think it's worth it? And I was like, I feel like one's going to have to come pretty soon, but I will say all the amazing games on the Switch, if it's not backwards compatible, it's still worth it. It's worth $350 US to buy an OLED, to play, to experience all of these different games, especially if they're not also available on the new console. I think it's still worth it. Even like if you said, if they did cut it off and they're like, okay, yep, no backwards compatibility.
No system in the past has ever been forward compatible. The PS5 and the Xbox Series were kind of like the first one that said we're going to be they're going to be forward compatible. So I think it's silly for people to expect their games to work on their system to work on the next gen games. Mm-hmm. And you have 7 years worth of releases that you can enjoy. I have little sympathy for people that jump in because it's the cheapest way to jump in anyways, because they can buy all these games at a huge discount. And so I couldn't when I bought my Switch Day one. Well, you can. I mean,
some stuff's still full price, but
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
And that's what I think is the crazy thing with Nintendo too is, like you said earlier, there hasn't been a price drop on consoles. Right. So these consoles are still
they did the Lite. So that in that way, there was a price drop that they offered a lower price entry, but they also had a price increase. They also had a price increase, which only the Xbox One X, I think. Well, that gets them to price. I think the OLED is actually the only price increase. Well, PS5.
Yeah.
But very few times have you been able to increase the cost of your box, and Nintendo pulled it off.
Yeah, and I think games-wise, why I was super excited when I got a PlayStation 5 for the exact reason you were just saying. I was like, I can get some amazing games over all the years that this PlayStation's been out for dirt cheap. I can get them at a garage sale for nothing. I can go to GameStop and get them for, a 70% off, right? Whereas Nintendo, it's like, oh, do you want the Mario Kart 8? Unless there's a sale going on a third party, it's full price. You want Odyssey, full price, unless there's a sale somewhere else, right? So like if you're going to buy it digitally, full price, so like that's the only thing about Nintendo too, is like, you got to realize when you're jumping in, you're still paying full price for a lot of the first party games, Nintendo wise. There's going to be some like Rabbids, Mario plus Rabbids, those ones go on sale, but like Splatoon and things, some of those bigger ones, even, the Donkey Kong tropical freeze, like that one, like you got to find it like maybe like on certain deals like at a Walmart or something like that. Otherwise, like if you buy it from Nintendo, it's gonna still be like full price. So like I think that's one thing with it is like, you don't get the benefits as like Xbox or PlayStation, where you can get a very discounted physical copy of a game, because it's 6 months old. it's still full price.
Well, they'll probably change the cart size, right? So it works like they did on 3DS to DS. They change the cart size or do something different. Hopefully that's what they'll do. So your old carts will work on the new Switch system or Nintendo system, and the new ones will only work on the new system. So they'll probably put like
That's
a weird
what I was hoping.
like crick in it or something. So we'll see how that happens.
I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I will say, like, the final thing I want to is it doesn't take long for a precedent to be made.
No.
So you said, like, in the past, no console has really brought forward their full library, but now we have that.
Yes.
And it's very, very hard for a lot of consumers to look past something like that when they can see, like you said before, an Xbox Series S with Game Pass with a massive years-long back catalog to Xbox 360, the original Xbox 360, Xbox One, full library of Xbox One, and and then new games. And if you see something that's priced similar and it says we're starting from scratch, there's 3 games available. One of those is 1-2 Super Switch. Shoot.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Plus. Nobody wants that.
It's a very tough. I will 100% agree. The precedent had not been set until it was, and now that it is like saying, like, hey, guess what? You're buying a new phone, but none of your apps work. You have to start from scratch. Are you kidding me? I would switch to Android, and that's someone that just bought a new Apple Watch and loves my iPhone. And like, I would be like, okay, where can I go? Who's next? Because these guys are crazy.
Yeah.
It is a terribly quick precedent that people are going to get used to very, very, very quickly. So I think Nintendo has to really be careful, and that's not one of their strong suits.
Okay, so last question.
We'll see.
Really quick, Mark. When does the next Nintendo console come out?
Holiday 2024.
Okay. Wow. That's like 18 months from now. Josiah, when does it come out?
I think we're going to hear about it either the very end of this year, actual year, or the very beginning of next year, and it's going to launch spring.
Ooh, okay, all right.
I am jinxing you because I'm saying the same thing. I think they're going to announce it back into the year, fall, whatever, because they may have a game and they're going to be like, yeah, in that game, it's going to both be on Switch and whatever, a console as well. And we're launching in March before our fiscal year. And here's now what we're going to sell of that console. So it's in our fiscal report. So we didn't lie.
Bam. I like it.
And it's going to be Mario Kart 9, maybe, hopefully.
Great.
Because that's a system seller, and they can put that in every Switch box and sell it forever, like 50 million copies. Oh, well. We are done. Mark needs to go to bed. He is a tired boy. Oh, my goodness. Hezekiah is in Great Wyoming, so he's like, so Josiah, you need to go to bed. Your son's asleep. Everybody needs to go to bed.
No, they're actually waiting to go to McDonald's right now.
Holy cow.
It's 9 o'clock, but I promised them we're going to McDonald's. We're going to stay up super late tonight since it's our anniversary. And we're going to have a good time.
McDonald's for your anniversary? You are a saint, man. Yep. Oh my goodness. Get them up McFlurry too to make it even better. Exactly. Excellent. So with that, tell everyone where they can find you around the interwebs.
Okay. So on Twitter, I am Martinez mostly. It's a long story. I don't have mostly Martinez. I won't even go into that right now, but it's Martinez mostly. And then besides that, Hezekiah and I said earlier on the Rock Show on YouTube, we have a weekly show called My Next Gen Gaming. It's, if you're in the US, it's, in the afternoon times. We just play games. We chat with everybody in the chat, and it's kind of just like an open conversation type thing. During the week, we are on Kick actually now, live streaming almost 5-6 times a week sometimes, depending on if we can work it out. But yeah, that is Hezekiah's Toys and Games. Hezekiah's YouTube channel is the same name, Hezekiah's Toys and Games. We do unboxing videos and stuff like that. And yeah, that's where we're mostly going to be, is either in live on stream or making content for YouTube. So
awesome. Seeing how happy your kid gets when anything happens is the most delightful thing.
It is.
It's great. Whether it's a new controller, a game, a thing, like it is my favorite to see. Like, there's so many crusty old dudes talking about video games and being like, I don't like this because it doesn't run at this, and it's kind of, and it's like, that's
Thanks,
fine. I listen to a bunch of those shows. I'm part of one. It's fine. It's great. But seeing that just always makes my day. So it's amazing to see everyone listening. Just go subscribe and watch that, because it will make your day. I promise.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Hezekiah is a great kid. He's very exciting, and you guys do some great stuff. Thank you for being on again.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for inviting me. Always a pleasure to be on. It's always great to share a screen with both of you guys. And both of you guys have amazing families. I love seeing, as a family man, I love seeing both of you guys sharing a little bit of your family life. You have beautiful wives and kids, and you guys do fun stuff. And I love seeing everybody smiling on your guys' pictures. And so I just had to throw that out there too, just because, I like seeing both of your guys' just family outings and stuff, because there's nothing more heartwarming than seeing a happy family.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, Mark, with that, and your crusty gamer speaking to you. All right, now tell people where they can find you.
I wasn't just talking about you. You can find me and my crusty opinions everywhere. _Canardian. That's I've been not using Twitter as much, but I'm still floating around there. But Instagram for sure, and our Discord server. You can find me bopping around all of those places.
Excellent. And you can find me at Doxtra, talking about video games, talking about the Vikings of potentially in the fall when we actually play football again, which should be fun, and Michigan State athletics. I love college football. So with that, and once again, just follow Secret Friends Unite. We do some great things out there. Mark's got some great content. He's going to be doing more. I know. I want to pressure you into doing more, because you do great things and people want to see you and your wife do awesome things. And Charlie and I do a great comic book content for Patreon now, Spinner Rack, and we just recorded, we're going to record the next one, which is going to be a lot of fun as well. So that is it for our show. So just check out our stuff. And once again, thanks everybody for going on this voyage with us. It was long, we get it, but hopefully you enjoyed our discussions on Tears of the Kingdom and also the future of Nintendo. So with that, I want to say thank you all for joining us. And remember, folks, it's always better to game together.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.